Welcome back guys to another Cyberpunk video. I've actually never made a completely fully maxed out katana build or blade build for Cyberpunk 2077. So this video will cover all the necessary perks, cyberware and skills to get the absolute highest damage with your monowire and your katanas. I was able to squeeze out over 150,000 damage with the monowire with this build, and if you now think that is totally overkill, then wait before you see what I got with the Satori, which was over 270,000 damage. So net running is far from being the most OP playstyle, it's actually the katanas which are crazily OP. That is actually so much damage that Adam Smasher would certainly beg for mercy if he wasn't protected by the developers so that we can only drain 10% of his health for every hit we make. But thank god it doesn't affect any of the cyber psychos or other bosses in the game, so we can simply one-shot them instead. Your katana damage will be based on almost every tree. We need the reflex tree, we need tech, we need body, and we also need cool. As you can't max out all the 4 trees, it is not possible to create the best possible katana build without making some sacrifices. Of course, we need the highest possible DPS for our katanas, and we can reach up to 3000 DPS if we craft them all the way up to legendary and even get the cutting edge perk with tech 20. But that is a big mistake and a major waste of skill points. You will actually get way more DPS if you focus on the attack speed perks. Attack speed can be greatly increased by getting the legendary micro rotors in your cyberware and also from the sting like a bee perk in the blade skill tree. If you get these perks and the epic weapons, you will still have over 2300 DPS, and that is more than enough to get the highest damage. Speaking about the blade skills, you might also think you have to get the blades finisher with reflex 20, that gives you an additional 40% critical damage with your blades. But especially if you play with the Satori that already has over 500% critical damage, another 40% critical damage will simply stack on the existing 500 and will be less than a 10% damage increase. So the reflex finisher is also not mandatory. What is way more important is that you get cool 20. Cool 20 is where the major part of our damage will come from. Aside from the 500% critical damage from the Satori, the Merciless finisher will give us enough crit chance to guarantee that every hit will be a critical hit, dealing massive amounts of 300% critical damage to all our enemies. And the final decision you have to make is if you want to go for Berserk or Sandevistan. Sandevistan is of course the easy choice. You will slow down all your enemies and you will one-shot everyone anyway. But if you want to reach the absolute highest damage in this game, then you have to go Berserk. Berserk will multiply your damage into the hundreds of thousands and will also give you a health boost and a crazy movement boost. Besides that, it will last for 1 minute instead of just 10 seconds. I've designed this build in a way that you can use both the best Sandevistan and the best Berserk cyberware without having to change anything else. In order to play with this build, just activate your cyberware and then Merciless will kick in after your first kill automatically. After your first kill you will be in cold blood and the additional 300% critical damage and 100% crit chance will be applied. And to get the absolute highest damage possible, you have to perform a dodge and strike your enemy with a heavy attack while you're out of combat. That way you will deal the massive amounts of over 200,000 damage on your targets. And if you missed to get the Satori, then don't worry, I will put your guide at the end of this video how to get into Konpeki Plaza and even collect the Satori after you've already beaten the game. This is still possible on all platforms and even in the latest patch. But now let's finally check out the build. The Satori of course will be our main weapon. And the epic variant with maxed out attack speed will actually have over 2322 DPS, which is more than enough for our build. In the mod slots we will equip 2 Cold Shoulder mods because Cold Shoulder is actually way better than the Scourge mods. Especially in a high critical damage build, the Scourge will just stack on the existing critical damage and give you a much smaller boost in reality, whereas Cold Shoulder will increase your base DPS, which is a way stronger boost. The second weapon you could also use if you don't have the Satori is the Yinchimaru. The Yinchimaru will have over 2254 DPS in the epic variant with maximum attack speed, and it has some crazy damage boost when you attack and use your heavy attacks. Heavy attacks will automatically count as a combo finisher and will deal the double amount of damage with this weapon. However, your damage will only max out at around 150,000 damage and you won't reach the elusive 270,000 damage of the Satori, but it is nevertheless a really good replacement. In the mod slots we will again place Cold Shoulder mods to increase our base DPS because that gives us the higher damage boost. There aren't any other katanas which give you a huge damage boost, so if you go for maximum damage then these two are the only real options. But if you want to make a Sandevistan build and you don't care about maximum damage, then of course you can go for the Scalpel. The Scalpel will give you 50% crit chance during Sandevistan, which means you can dramatically reduce the amount of points you have to place into Merciless. but the damage output of the scalpel will be way below 100k. So don't expect to be able to one-shot cyber cycles with it, and you might even struggle versus harder enemies. However, since Sandevistan slows down time, that probably doesn't matter. The armor is actually not that important. If you ever find any piece that already has critical damage, then definitely use it. Other than that, we will mostly equip armadillo mods here, except for the eyewear, where you should definitely use a 4% crit chance for tuna mod. There's a high chance you can find one of these in the afterlife. The cyberware on the other end is really important. We start here in the frontal cortex with heal on kill, that gives you 10% health every time you kill an enemy, and that will also stack with another 20% you will get from the blades tree, giving you a total of 30% health every time you kill an enemy. So you will literally become immortal by just continue to killing enemies. The only other option we have here is a rare mechatronic core, and we can't even use any other cyberware in the last slot, but that totally doesn't matter. In our Kiroshi optics, we'll place 3 weak spot detection for another 6% crit chance, because we won't use any shooting weapons anyway. The circulatory system is really important to keep you alive, and if you follow this build exactly, then you will only get the best of the best. First and foremost, second heart, which revives you on death. Every time you get killed, you can simply stand up and continue to fight. Then the legendary bioconductor, which reduces all your cooldowns, also from Sandevistan and Berserk, by 30%. Having this as legendary is really important, and it is way better than only the 10 or 20% from the epic one. And then the legendary biomonitor, which restores 100% health whenever your health drops below 15%. So that basically acts as a second heart, reviving you as well before even second heart kicks in. If you combine that with the health and damage reduction from Berserk, you will be literally unstoppable. To get all this as legendary, you have to go for body 18, because with body 16 the last two would only be epic, and that is why I strongly recommend to go for body 18 and reflex 18 instead of shifting it to 1620. In the immune system, of course, we go for the pain editor to reduce our damage, and then for the metabolic editor to get immunity versus poison damage. In the nervous system, you should definitely go for the nanorelays, especially if you use either Kerenzikov or Sandevistan. That will prolong the effect of both of these items. And of course, I'm a big fan of Kerenzikov, so especially if you don't play with Sandevistan, if you play with Berserk, Kerenzikov will still give you the option to slow down time, and dodging will also dramatically increase your damage. Even if it also slows down yourself, it will actually reduce the action on the screen for a moment, which is really helpful too. Then of course we go for the armor increase, optical camo and the heat converter to get immunity versus fire damage. My preferred option for this build is actually to use Berserk, because Berserk will give you just so much more melee damage, more health, more damage reduction, more movement speed, and the Militech Mark V is definitely the best Berserk mod. It lasts for 60 seconds, it already comes with a 15% melee damage increase, and it also gives you 40% more health. The melee damage can then be further increased by equipping a beast mode for another 100% melee damage boost and 2 more bruising berserks for 16% each. So this item will give you a total of 147% more melee damage with the items we have equipped here. And all this acts as a multiplier, so you will actually multiply all your damage by a factor of 2.5. Instead of 100,000 damage, you will get 250,000, which is just insane. However, if you still prefer Sandevistan, then you should definitely go for the Quine Sandevistan Mark IV, which you can purchase from Finger, so make sure that you don't punch him next time you play the game. For Sandevistan, we usually go for maximum cooldown reduction, so we simply equip a triple heatsink here. I recommend you use the Epic Skeleton for the 50% additional health. However, another option to increase your damage further would be to use Dance Marrow, but Dance Marrow only gives you 10% additional melee damage, which will stack on your existing melee damage, so going for the health increase is definitely the more reasonable option. Much better than Dance Marrow, however, are the micro rotors. So whenever you make a melee build, definitely go for the micro rotors. They will crazily increase your DPS for all your katanas and all your melee weapons. You can go for a smart link, but it is actually not necessary to have anything equipped in your hand slot. What is much more important is getting the monowire. With over 4500 DPS, it is single-handedly the highest DPS weapon in the game. However, it lacks further damage boost, so it can't compete with the Satori and with the Jinchi Maru, but if you equip it with an epic battery and with a sensory amplifier, you will get the highest possible damage out of it. It will be in the range of around 150,000 damage. And then of course don't forget to equip the tendons for your double jump. Now let's finally check out the skills. We'll go for 18 body and 18 reflex. That allows you not only to get the best Berserk and the best Sandevistan at the same time in the same build, but it will also allow you to get the legendary bioconductor and the legendary biomonitor. If you would go for 16 body and 20 reflex, the only thing you would actually gain is the blade's finisher, which is basically entirely useless if you play with the Satori. So 18-18 is definitely the smarter play. In the cool tree under ninjutsu, you should definitely go for the assassin perk for additional damage versus all humans. You can go for silent and deadly and strike from the shadows, but these two are rather optional. Absolutely important is the cold blood perk here in the middle of the cold blood tree, because without that it doesn't even trigger any cold blood. And then go for exactly level 68 on Merciless. If you go for level 68, you will have exactly 100% crit chance with all your katanas. And then don't forget to equip Blood Brawl, because Blood Brawl gives you an additional damage with all your melee weapons. Kulagulant will remove all your stacks of cold blood one by one, and Cold and Calculating will give you another stack of cold blood every time you make a critical hit. Pain is an Illusion is a new perk I equipped that gives you an additional damage reduction, and of course don't forget to get Critical Condition and Coldest Blood. In the tech tree we will only get 3 perks in crafting, which are Grease Monkey, True Craftsman and Field Technician. Field Technician will increase the damage of all your crafted weapons. Because we upgraded the Satori from rare to epic, we will get this additional damage boost. Under reflex in blades we will of course go for Roaring Waters and Sting Like a Bee. As I said, Sting Like a Bee is just as important as Roaring Waters to increase your DPS. Then of course we go for Judge, Jury, Executioner for the double damage versus healthy enemies. Fury Blast will give us additional damage when we are injured. Go for the crit chance boost for all your katanas. Offensive Defense and Float Like a Butterfly will give you an additional crazy damage boost every time you dodge. To increase our survivability, we will definitely go for Death Bolt that gives us 20% health refill on every kill we make with our katanas, which will also stack with the heal on kills Cyberware. Unbroken Spirit will give you an additional 25% damage whenever you make a counter attack, so every enemy that shoots at you will basically give you 55% of your health if you kill him. And Slow and Steady will also increase your armor. In the Athletics tree, pick up the standard ones, Pack Mule and Regeneration, and then don't forget to get Steel and Chrome. A lot of people forget to equip Steel and Chrome, but Steel and Chrome has a direct effect on your DPS of all your melee weapons, so definitely get this in a melee build. Of course we also pick up Invincible for more health, Tenacious V and Steel Shell for more armor. This is definitely the best melee build skill distribution. You can use it either with Sandevistan or with Berserk and you get all the best Cyberware. Feel free to adapt and use this build to your liking. In case you missed to collect the Satori at the beginning of the game, don't worry, there's a way to get into Konpeki Plaza and it still works in the latest patches of the game. Just park your car on the highway overpass and then double jump on top of the wall to get inside the compound of Konpeki Plaza. The next difficult thing you have to break through is the front door of Konpeki Plaza. For that you have to summon one of your cars. I recommend to get the Porsche and park it in front of the door. Then you simply have to jump on top of your car and crouch between the car and the door. That will make the door glitch open if you park your car in the right distance to the door. If it doesn't work immediately, you have to change the position of your car just slightly closer or farther away from the door. Then just turn around, enter the lobby and go to the far right elevator on the map. Ride the elevator to the highest floor and then simply backtrack all the way where you killed all those enemies together with Jackie until you reach an area with that tree. That is very close to the area where you actually started after jumping down the roof. But in this case, you have to jump on top of the tree and then double jump on the roof. When you do that during daytime, you will be actually blinded, so I really recommend to switch to nighttime for doing the next jumps. The jump from the pipes to the glass panel is probably the most difficult one, but it can be done with a double jump. Another very difficult jump is on top of that ledge, and this is actually the ledge where you jump down. You can now easily get inside, collect the Satori from the roof or even collect the iguana egg in case you missed it. I hope you really liked this video. Please don't forget to subscribe, leave me a like and see you next time.